I love results. Have I mentioned how much I love quantifiable, independent data? Now, I'm going to show you this chart and I'm going to move on. In Fighting God, I have a lot more charts. And I have a lot more data that backs what I'm about to make up. This is the front chart, and I have all the charts in Fighting God that will help you to determine that I'm not making this stuff up. So what we have here is two lines. We've got a blue line and a red line. Now the blue line is the number of times the word atheist is searched in Google in a given month. This is all traceable. You can all do this research yourself. The number of times the word atheist is searched in a given month. And it goes up and down, up and down. Why does it go up and down? Because of news stories. Something happens about atheists and people look it up. People Google it. And it goes up and down, up and down. And when there are no news stories, it goes down to this red line, which I represent as the floor. And I maintain that the floor, the amount of time that people look up the word atheist when they are not being prodded to do so, is a barometer for atheist normalcy. And you see it goes up and down, up and down, up and down until right here. Late 2006, the God delusion led into a Christian nation, and God is not great, all come out. They all go on book tour. Everybody starts reading about it. Everybody starts talking about it. And lo and behold, there's a spike at Christmas, but the floor is elevated. The amount of times that people look up the word atheist when not being prodded to rises. And it never goes back down again. Atheist normalcy was increased here a little bit. Atheist normalcy went up. Now, as we look a little bit farther along, a pattern emerges. Now you see a spike every Christmas. That is what I call the O'Reilly factor. The war on Christmas gets people arguing and talking about atheism, and after every Christmas spike, there's always a descent. And right here, this huge spike, right there, that is when, you just look it up, again, all this stuff is traceable. All this stuff is researchable by you. You look it up there, you do Christmas of 2008, atheist, you're going to see one big news item happen, and that is those Richard Dawkins bus ads in England, stop worrying and enjoy your life. It was in England, but the news items here were huge. Everybody was talking about it, and look what happened. It didn't go down again. That floor raised again. It seems like the huge spike and the discussion around that spike, now just stop worrying and enjoy your life, was so strong that it raised atheist normalcy here in America. Now that last little tail there at the end, this part right over here, this is September of 2010. If you Google atheist September of 2010, you will find out that there were two news items that happened then. The first one was the Pew Research came out and said, atheists know more about religion than religious people do. We all know that. The second and far more relevant part, as Don already told you, is that I was elected president of American Atheists. And that's when, I clap for that, and that's when the billboard started, that's when the firebrand atheism started to come out of American Atheists, and this is what happened. Now what you're seeing here is a bunch of spikes. Every single one of those spikes correlates to American Atheist billboard or other activity. Every single one correlates to one of our activities, and the floor raises twice as far in half the time. Twice as far in half the time. These are our billboards. This is what I maintain is quantifiable, independent proof that American Atheists and our firebrand activities are individually impacting this country and raising atheism awareness nationwide. It makes sense. We're moving the Overton window. People are hearing about it. People are looking it up. people are continuing to talk about it. So far, so good. That makes sense. Let's look at more. Here's a nice little chart. This is the number of times an atheist calls themselves atheist versus the number of times an atheist calls himself an agnostic. And you can see right here in 2010, there's an increase in the slope. I wonder how that correlates with searches. Oh, look, it correlates really well. What we see from this is the use of atheist correlates with hardline atheist activism and hardline atheist activity, and the use of agnostic also correlates with firebrand atheist activity. And this is interesting because in the book I talk about how atheism has that spike, but I did the exact same analysis for agnostic over the same time frame, and it didn't show a spike. Why? Well, that makes sense, because we're not advertising agnosticism. It shouldn't show a spike. But the interesting thing is that people are calling themselves agnostic at the same level of increase, which suggests that the hardline atheism is causing people to look up atheism and call themselves agnostic as a stepping stone term. That's how it works. Now, so often I hear the negative, right? You're hurting this country. I get this so often. I had a friend, and she saw your billboard, and she went back to Christianity. I am so sick, it's never going to end, but so sick of atheists looking for reasons to hate on good, independent, quantitative data. But I had to do it, right? Because I'm doing a skeptical book. We're a skeptical audience. I'm writing a book about skepticism. I have to try and prove myself wrong. So I looked for data, any data, to suggest that firebrand atheism correlates to anything bad. Nope. Here's what I found. How many people would vote for an atheist? Well, now, admittedly, this is 3 data points. Okay, this is a small n, 3 data points. But look at the slope of this line, increases right here. More people are willing to vote for atheists, and that goes up in the same timeline as people searching for the word atheists. In other words, all the data that I have found, all the data, points to something which I think is really, really defensible. Firebrand atheism gets more people talking about atheism, gets more people looking up atheism, gets more people calling themselves atheists, which de-demonizes the word, that guy in the face calling themselves atheists, which makes more people like atheists. It works. It passes the smell test, and in fact, it was the plan. And it seems to have worked perfectly. In fact, it seems to have worked better than expected.